Like his
Right.
stuff is so stylish for like what he does. He did that one issue of What If Daredevil had killed Kingpin, and I just
Mhm.
happened to take a look at that, and I'm like, man, even this early stuff was so cool. I like it.
Nice. Well, speaking of things that we opened up and could have liked, I know I didn't. We should probably get going on covering Iron Lantern
Yeah, go
for
for it, man.
May
Whenever you're
Amalgam.
ready.
All right. You guys ready?
You got it up?
Yep, I'm gonna
Okay.
present it here. Share screen. Share screen. Window. Share screen. Share.
Access random memory.
Must get to mainframe. Oh no. Here we go. All right. God. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Powerful Brandon here, and you are listening to Comics Paradox. This is the podcast in which we talk about all kinds of alternate reality tales and takes, such as what ifs from Marvel Comics and Elseworlds from DC Comics. Also cover different story arcs and titles from other publishers. And just have a lot of fun dealing with how we perceive these different tales. Joining me as ever, two fine fellows. We'll start off with Mr. Leo Pond. Leo Pond, excuse me. I almost coughed in the middle of your name. Leo Pond.
Juan? Juan?
Pond. Yes, Leo Pond. Leo Pond. Mr. Leo
Hey,
Pond. How you doing, Leo?
doing okay. Wondering what the hell happened in this issue, but I'm yeah.
yeah, we all are. And of course, Mr. Justin Cooper. How's it going, Justin?
Hey, hey!
Hey, kids.
I'm going to be probably the outlier here because
Oh no.
I love Paul Smith artwork, and I mean I ate this up like I just miss this artwork so much.
Yes, you definitely sound like the outlier.
Yeah, Paul Smith notably took over after John Byrne, for the X-Men run. So it was a lot of fun to see this art.
Well, to take a page from your crusty impression to start this off, I could pull a better comic book out of my hey. So yeah, Iron Lantern from Amalgam Comics. This is from the second wave of Amalgam Comics they did in 1997. This is a combination of the characters Iron Man and Green Lantern. That'd be Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and Tony Stark, Iron Man. And
it's weird on paper as it is on paper.
It's
a really weird matchup.
It blows my friggin' mind because this was written by one of my favorite comic book writers.
Oh, it is so Silver Agey too.
Yeah, it's very Silver Agey.
Yeah.
This was written by Kurt Busiek, whom we've covered Superman Secret Identity by him and Stuart Immonen, which is one of my all-time favorite comic books as it is, but beautifully rendered by Stuart Immonen. But also just that story is fantastic. Kurt Busiek's stuff with Marvels and Alex Ross, outstanding. His entire Astro City series, which is very steeped in Silver Age comic books and what have you, but it's a loving homage to all types of different comic books, the different eras and what have you. And I open up the page of this, and I'll give you this, Justin. Like the book looks good.
Yeah.
The artwork looks good. I don't know about some of the designs, as it were. Like
I will give
Iron
you that,
Lantern.
and I will say this: a lot of the mixes of the characters in this book don't work for me.
Oh,
There's two
God.
that work really well for me. The first one is on this page right there, mixing Hector Hammond and MODOK together.
Yeah,
Chef's kiss.
and
Perfect synergy.
yeah, in their name is Hector. It's an acronym for highly evolved creature, totally oriented on revenge.
Exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you look at him, he's ridiculous, and it's like this is I'm like, oh, we're started off good here. And
Yeah,
the other one that's okay with me is Ego the Living Planet mixed with Oa.
and it's Oa the
Okay,
Living Planet.
okay, I'm like, all right, so we've got like a 50-50 match here because I'm like, I don't really know what's going on with Iron Lantern. Let's see. Like I thought he was going to have like rings on his knuckles or something, but like we'll
No,
see what's going on. But
yeah,
Hector is spot on perfect.
yeah. Unfortunately, it's kind of like downhill from there. Uh,
Kinda. Yeah.
yeah, more than kind of, I think. So yeah, he's bringing him to Oa because Oa's like basically everything for the power battery. He charges up the power battery that powers his Iron Lantern suit that he made. Whilst he brings Hector in to be locked up in the prison section of Oa, the Living Planet. And they come back, they combine like Stark Industries with Ferris Aircraft, and it's like Stark Aircraft or Stark Aircraft plant outside Coast City.
And this is where it gets confusing because you're
Yeah.
talking to like all these characters. You're like, all right,
Oh
who
my
the hell are they?
god.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just jump right in like in media res, and I think it looks like they combined John Stewart
Yep.
and Jim Rhodes, and he became Stewart Rhodes. Is that right?
I think so. But there's a point where I think he gets called John, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, maybe not then. I don't
No,
know.
you're exactly right. It is Stewart, but it might be John Stewart
Might be
Rhodes.
John Stewart. Oh yeah,
So,
maybe.
but
I
it's
don't know.
confusing. So because
And
But
they call him Stu and they call him John.
yeah.
happy is just happy, right?
Well, he's happy, and then he's another person who I don't know. So
Yeah, I'm not 100% on that.
because I'm
It
like,
do-
I would get if it was Wyatt Wingfoot or something like that, but I don't know who this person is.
yeah. Wyatt Wingfoot, Judas Priest. Wow, I haven't even thought of that character in forever. Um, but yeah, then they
Oh,
they
so
combine they
happy.
combine Pepper Potts with Carol Ferris.
He's
Um,
Happy Hogan and who, Leo?
Uh, Kalmaku.
I have no idea.
Who the hell
so
is
Happy
Kalmaku?
Kelmaku, that's his name. Happy Kelmaku.
It's got to be a
Uh,
DC character that
yeah,
I
oh,
just don't.
Thomas Kalmaku.
Okay.
Well, the first name doesn't help, so I just
Yeah,
have no
that's
idea who that is.
okay then.
uh,
Yeah.
oh,
I wonder if that's
he's
the character who Taika Waititi was supposed to be playing in Green Lantern.
Oh,
uh,
probably.
so Thomas Kalmaku is, AKA Pie Face, was a young Inuit engineer at Ferris Aircraft, friend of Hal Jordan.
That's
Okay.
incredibly racist. So
Anyway, moving on. Not glossing over that. Just trying to get through this fantastic book. Hal Stark. Oh, God. Like, I'm just real quick, kids. I cannot. I've made no bones about this in the past. I'm just gonna make sure I state it right now too. I feel Iron Man, and Hal Jordan as Green Lantern, especially from the point in time that this comic book was made, are two of the most boring characters on the face of the planet. The fact that they combined both of them to make this book, it just makes me feel they squandered the potential to give a better amalgamated character, like a series here, like a one shot. Instead, they went with this. Like, I just can't wrap my head around it. Anyway, we get into the origin of this character here, and it's he's test piloting something, and then he gets pulled by energy towards whatever, just like Hal Jordan's regular Green Lantern. What's up, Leo?
I just want to say he's in a stationary flight simulator.
yes, yes, yeah.
Yes, stationary flight simulator, which is actually what happened to Hal Jordan. And he starts getting like pulled by energy towards something. But what happens here?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I hit the wrong.
What are you doing, dude?
Sorry.
Um, and what happens here is the energy kicks out, a little ways away from the craft, and in doing so, it injures Hal. So he has like jagged metal piercing his chest. He has to think on his feet, think quickly, and he takes the power battery that he finds, the Green Lantern, inside of the dead alien's ship, and manages to make himself, armor or whatever to keep his heart going. Like, why he needed to make armor while he was right there in the middle of the desert is beyond me. I don't understand it. But he did so, and it looks very much like the Mark I armor that Iron Man wore, just with a green tint and a flat Green Lantern symbol on the front of it. And at this point, he's been upgrading. He's on like the Mark III or whatever, and he's Iron Lantern, and that's that. And we have the usual goings on with the senator wanting to know what's going on with the fight not going well earlier, and giving everybody all kinds of attitude and acting like a real fucking jerk.
Yep.
And you find out that of course Hal's there, and everybody else. You find out that the senator is her father, is Pepper's is they do call her Pepper in this, right? Pepper
Yeah, they do.
Ferris, yeah.
Yep.
Is her father. And then we get another character here, Kyle O'Brien, who's clearly supposed to be like Kyle Rayner, and I'm not quite sure who he's supposed to be combined with.
I thought at first it was Plastic Man, but I'm like, no, because he's in Speed Demon. So I don't know who O'Brien is, but
I guess he's he's supposed to be okay. So he's kind of like a semi combination of who's Guardsman? Okay, a combination of Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, and Marvel's Guardsman. And his name is Kevin O'Brien.
Oh, that's so obscure on Marvel's end.
Yeah, I have no idea who that character is.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, they're going for like Kyle Rayner, but he clearly looks like Guy Gardner. And I'm like, I feel like it's just. What do you say, Brandon? Usually a bridge too far.
Yeah, just a bit. Like,
yeah.
They could have dialed that back slightly. Then we go and see the next one they're setting up, and it's Pepper Ferris, who's already a combination between Pepper Potts and Carol Ferris, and she sees this like kind of gem floating in the air. She touches it, and she becomes Madame Sapphire. So a combination of
is it Madame
Star Sapphire from DC and Madame Mask from Marvel. I don't. Let me see. I don't really know much about Madame.
She looks so much like Madame Mask there. Just she doesn't have like the rivets on it. That's really the only difference in the face mask, because she was kind of like a starlet or something like that. I think that had gone bad, and she wears like that almost Doctor Doom type mask. And I think there's a loose affiliation with like Hydra. I don't know, but.
And we come to find out that Kyle O'Brien, the former Green Guardsman, who apparently stood in for Hal as Iron Lantern briefly, he is jonesing for that sweet power battery to be that powerful again. So he's working his way through all kinds of security to try to steal the power battery.
I just want to say how much sense that makes to me as a plot device. That made so much sense. You can continue.
Thank you. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not right now.
Oh, can't you? No,
okay, I mean now I can.
Okay, all right.
Now
I just want to say, like, the whole idea. I can't wait to be a hero again, and I'll stop at nothing to be one.
Yeah, including becoming the villain of this story.
Let me just use this, magic computer so I can get through this security wall so I can get back to there. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is no. Please continue.
I was saying to Dara the other night, I was like, I really got to get you to watch Deep Space Nine, particularly so we can get to like where there's all kinds of fun interactions with Garrick. Because
oh my god, that's gonna be so much fun if that's
like,
her first watch.
Yeah, it's just like,
wow. She's
my dear doctor, don't you understand? Everyone's the hero of their own story. What about the villains? Oh, doctor, especially the villains. I need for her to like experience Garrick. Like
how did they not end up together? That's just what I want to know.
I don't know.
Him and Bashir, whatever.
But I also realized like anything I've ever seen William Sadler in, he like automatically makes better. Like I really like that actor. He's the one who introduced section 31 in Deep Space Nine. Like he's the guy.
And it's coming back.
He's also Demon Knight.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that fucking movie. Billy Zane's involvement be damned. I don't care. But he knows what he did. But anyway, back to Iron Lantern. Madame Sapphire calls forth this big shark robot thing called Great White, which I don't know. I don't get what
I
I
got
going
wasn't
so
on there.
sure. Yeah, what is it?
I don't know. It's like
I
a
got
big
so
robot shark. I thought at first it was like King Shark combined with somebody, but
that's what I
I
thought
couldn't
too.
find I couldn't find who it was. Like I
It's
just
totally unique to the story.
I was thinking of like the mad
oh, you
thing
couldn't
where his
find
brother
anything either,
robot.
Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was
Okay,
confused about it. I was like, is that supposed to be King Shark and like a giant android? And it's like, no,
that's what
it's,
I was thinking too, but I couldn't
yeah.
find a thing. All right, I'm glad it wasn't just me. That
And King
And
Shark
why?
is not even a Green Lantern villain.
ain't that the truth. He's a fucking Superboy villain.
Yeah.
And
That's
why
the thing that gets me is like he's a
giant
Superboy villain,
android?
and he's always in like other shit. I'm like, what the fuck happened, man? I mean, I guess that's one of the advantages of having your Superboy comic books take place in Hawaii for a number of years.
Yeah.
But regardless, back to Iron Lantern. Hal gets the call on the I don't know the fucking lantern phone. I don't like. And he runs in to get his armor from his like back room, and after decoding it with voice command, the codes are him saying "in brightest day" and the machine replying back "in blackest night." And then the second parameter from him is "no evil shall escape my sight," and then it unlocks. It's like, oh, that's cute. Anyway,
Well, this was him looking like he was running away for his safe room,
oh
and that's
yeah,
why
so that's
everyone
good.
was
Yeah,
getting pissed off at him.
yeah. Senator Ferris like runs after him, and he forces like two guys to like try to break in the door. Meanwhile, Hal's already out the window trying to stop Madame Sapphire, and he shoots the big shark robot thingy into space with a rocket construct he makes with a strap around the thing's back. And
We didn't know
whilst
he could do that until this very point in the book, by the way, right? Like he hasn't
Yeah,
used any constructs yet, right?
yeah, that's true. This is the first time.
Mhm.
yeah. The only thing he
Um,
did was make that shield around the aircraft,
yeah,
the plane.
but insofar as like something more detailed for sure.
Yeah.
Like this is the
Yep.
first time we've seen. And he's just like fighting with the thing in space. And meanwhile, Madame Sapphire is going after uh, Senator Ferris and grabbing him, flying off. And O'Brien is trying to break into the area where he's following Stewart and Happy. He attacks them and goes after the battery that's hooked up to all the stuff there that powers the suit that Hal's wearing like remotely. And this is once again happening while he's in space fighting with this shark robot. And Kyle O'Brien manages to snag the battery and disconnect it, and it leaves Hal stranded in space, having to use reserves to get rid of blow up the shark robot, and that's it. And now he's just like being pulled back down to the gravity of Earth with no power. And we see Kyle O'Brien sneaking away with the power battery. He's like, no one's going to take this away from me now. And we have Madame Sapphire flying off with Ferris still just like making up, saying earlier like, oh, men, blah blah blah. She's just like, basically kind of coming at him for the kind of shit that he was saying to his daughter earlier, how women shouldn't be in charge of stuff, which is wildly incorrect. That guy sucks. I don't blame her for being pissed. But meanwhile, Hal is coming through the atmosphere and he's looks like he's going to start burning up in the armor. And we see somebody watching from space in a ship and saying, "Yes, good, good. Everyone do the things I want them to. Dance puppets." And it's a combination of the Mandarin and Sinestro wearing 8 Green Lantern rings, and his name is Mandarin Nestro.
Yeah, that's the second one that I really like. I think the design for this is kooky enough where it just kind of makes sense. Where it's like, oh, of course, you got Sinestro with the rings, Mandarin with the rings. Like the design makes sense. you got that sort of big, sort of oblong head of Sinestro, and with like the old school Mandarin's mask and all that. And I think
And
that
he's got
would work.
the Fu Manchu mustache
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of the David Niven thing.
yeah. This works for me like a lot. Like I like this one.
Why
That's
are
a
his ears orange? That's
I I
I
don't
don't
know,
I
man.
don't
Like
understand.
I think they're prosthetic. They're just there for whatever. But yeah,
or
and
is
I mean
it
he's
just,
got like that big plunging collar.
But he still has the Sinestro elf thing
Yeah.
around like on the, you know what I'm saying, like the collarbone,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
clavicle, like
Looks like Jack Frost. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like he looks like a winter
You
sprite.
probably have a better picture of him in that card set of yours, right? Like
I would
they
say
must have.
so.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bust it out right now. I probably should have
Next one, the
have this
story
up.
we had to call. Oh, bring back my lantern to me.
Ugh, guys, come
Maybe
on.
his ears are. I mean, I know it's kind of silly, but maybe it's the light from
From the green.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
from the
It
from
could just
Iron
be an
Lantern.
error. It could just honestly be an error too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say likely it's an error. No need to dissect this too much, I think. Although it is worth noting his fingernails are also orange.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
But yeah, and then you get to the last page, which is the made up letters page, which it is amusing because it makes all kinds of weird. And by the way, it does say Stuart Rhodes right there. I see it
Okay.
in the right under the socket to Oa part. Somebody references him as Stuart Rhodes up. I also want to encourage you guys to play up the role of Stuart Rhodes, the brainy black pilot who seems to be angling to step into Hal's shoes someday. Huh. So yeah, I mean Stuart Rhodes, that makes sense. But yeah, they definitely did screw up because they called him John.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Huh.
like a spot where it does that. So
This is one of those ones though, like I said earlier, I feel like there are so many other concepts that they could have gone with.
yeah, it's high concept, but the concept was even too high. It's an average book. Like it's not like I know you don't like it a lot, but I'm just saying it's like it doesn't impress. It doesn't even get to the point where I'm so excited that it disappoints. It's just so bland, middle of the road. The art is serviceable, good art. Like there's not a spot in it where it's like, oh, that's bad. Maybe the coloring or something, but it's like, yeah, this is good all the way through. Like everything looks good and clear, and I can tell what it is. But the writing and specifically the dialogue, because like it's hard enough to figure out who the hell is talking at one point, but then the things that they say throughout there are so incredibly hokey and corny that it's just like, wow, what the hell did I just read? And
Yeah,
it's like this is easily forgettable, 100%. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I'm
people
not
gonna remember Hector. I think is what I'm
I'm
gonna
not
remember.
in, I'm not incredibly well versed in a lot of both of those characters like back issues, to be perfectly honest. Like I had some Iron Man stuff growing up, like comics. I had some Iron Man comics growing up. I had some Green Lantern ones, and I was always just kind of bored by them. And the same thing happened here. It's like actually one of the reasons why when I went to see the movie Green Lantern, I was bored too, because it's just like the same thing. I really do not fucking care. It's so hard for me to care about Hal Jordan. I don't know why. I don't think he's been written as the most interesting character. I think he works best when he's paired with like Green Arrow and other people. And
You need someone to ground him because, like, being in his presence for long enough, you want to punch him in the face.
yeah,
You know,
I think we've had numerous other Green Lanterns from Earth who are far more interesting characters, including Guy Gardner. Like I think Guy Gardner's backstory is incredibly interesting, and it doesn't excuse why he's like such a rage fueled shithead sometimes, but it gives you a window as to why that happens. Little things, and with Hal Jordan, I, I I've just never. There's nothing about the guy that really ever appealed to me.
he has a sense of superiority about him that Guy Gardner doesn't have, and there's something about that where it's like they're similar in some of the things that we describe about them, because it's like, yes, you probably would want to punch Guy Gardner in the face too, but he's infinitely more entertaining. And it's
Yes.
just, I there's the tiniest bits of details that is different between the two of them, but it could not be more of a Grand Canyon between how I like one character and how I like or dislike the other.
Well, I mean, even I mean, I even like Jon Stewart and Kyle Rayner a whole heck of a lot more. And I mean, for a while now, I honestly think I've been most impressed by one of the more recent additions to the Green Lantern lore, Jessica Cruz.
Oh, thank God you didn't say Simon Bass. But yes, yes.
I
Jessica
didn't
Cruz is
mind. I
great.
didn't mind Simon the way that you the way that you do. I
He's
get
a
it.
lunk. He is a lunk. There's very little interesting about him at all. And he is one of the most wildly inconsistently written characters. And I know why, because I've asked the writer of the Green Lanterns book, Tim Seeley, and he says that's Jeff Johns' character. Nobody wants to touch him. Nobody wants to do this because it's Jeff's character. I get it. But then if you make him, it's like, oh, I can't do this because of my Muslim faith. Okay, well then why are you doing that? Or why are you doing this? Like none of this stuff makes any sense, you know?
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to take a deeper dive
I used to
into the
review the
character
book.
altogether.
That's
Yeah, that's fair enough.
yes.
But I absolutely adore Jessica Cruz as a character.
She's a treasure.
I really, 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 truly hope that with the push that DC Studios is making to bring their characters and different lores to the big and small screen with streaming and what have you on Max, that they do include Jessica Cruz at some point, and do the character justice. Really show how it is she is capable of overcoming great fear. I think that's like key. You have to get that right, and that can make for such an interesting character arc for her as well. And honestly, like I'm kind of hoping, especially now that their DC shows on Max are over for the time being, I would love to see oh my, now I can't remember her name from Doom Patrol. What's her name?
Oh, oh God. Uh
Diane Guerrera.
yeah, there you are. I
Yeah,
was
I
thinking
would.
Crazy Jane. Yes.
Yeah, Crazy
That-
Jane.
that's,
But Diane Guerrera. I would love to see her play Jessica Cruz. I'm sorry, what was that, Leo?
no, I was gonna say the Adventures of Superman. Is that considered Max, or is that? I know it airs on what?
Well, My Adventures with Superman, the new animated
Yeah.
series, it's in season 2 currently. That is Cartoon Network. That is Adult Swim. Adult
Is she
Swim.
doing Lois on that? Is that why or
No, I think he's just asking because I had said they had finished doing the DC shows on Max, but
Yeah.
Max shows that the day after it's on Adult Swim. Like there's a new
That's where I
episode
was
on
wondering.
tonight at midnight, and then it'll show up tomorrow on Max.
Oh, okay, cool.
The first
Makes
two
sense.
episodes are pretty good.
Oh yeah, they're great. I mean, have you haven't seen the first 2 episodes of the season yet, Justin?
No, I've seen the first two for
Oh,
sure.
okay, great.
I
I
got as
thought,
far as when Monsieur Mala showed up.
oh, okay. Um, well, with this season, like they just took like such a tropey moment that we've seen 100 times across like all media for Superman and Lois Lane, and they genuinely made it fucking hilarious. Like they made it entertaining, and the fact that they were able to take such an old thing and make it feel brand new, I was impressed by. You know, it's Lois putting herself in danger. You know, they're at an elevator shaft, and
That was
he's
hilarious. I
he's
see
like,
you in.
Lois, what are you doing? She's like, what do you mean? He's like, I can see you inching closer to the elevator shaft. What? No, I'm not. Do not throw yourself over the elevator shaft. No, I would never do what. Just like,
Oh my God.
dude, it was fucking hysterical. Like, and he just and the thing is, like, Superman just stands there for a second and like flat out just like rolls his eyes and then goes after and gets her. I was like, that's how they took a moment we've seen play out in a bunch of different ways, usually stupid, and they made it like genuinely hilarious, whilst also showing exactly how much trust Lois has in Clark.
Wow,
Yeah, it was done
that's
very
funny.
well.
Was
Yeah.
was that because she wanted to spend some alone time with him, or like what was the deal?
No, they were trying to find where her father is being held prisoner. So it was just like an elevator shaft, and he's like, hmm. Like, and that's when she's like, gets closer, and he's like,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
do
because
it.
she wants to go
Yeah,
investigate, and he was like,
yeah. He's
yeah,
like, Lois, what are you doing? What? I'm not doing anything. I can see you inching closer to the shaft. Me? No. What? Huh? Huh? And then, like she really does like make a big show of it, and then just launches herself
oh,
off.
that's so funny. That's really funny.
Yeah, I really truly enjoy that show like so much more than I ever thought possible when it was like announced and shit. I have some hopes for it now insofar as some of the things story wise, and I do get a kick that so far in the series, like the two big villains on like that are kind of like behind the governmental shit are Amanda Waller and Slade Wilson,
Oh boy.
and they're voiced by Deborah Wilson and Chris Parnell.
Oh wow, Chris Parnell, cool.
Yeah, Chris Parnell is Deathstroke in this show, and it amuses me that Mad TV and Saturday Night Live
Yeah,
are the evil forces
that's
that that's trying to figure out how to like kill Superman. It's mwah, phenomenal. But aside from that,
I did have a question for you because you got me thinking about this. If they were to completely revamp and not do the Stark and Hal Jordan, what would you think about an Iron Beetle instead, where you take the Jaime Reyes and
oh,
uh, and you mix that with Iron Man because that's a more obvious mix. What would you think about something like that?
hmm, uh, I don't know, man.
Because you
I
don't
feel
have to do the whole cosmic thing where it's like, oh, this is how it happened, but it's like, all right, so the only thing keeping his heart going is that beetle thing that he has,
Scarab, yeah.
the scarab.
Um, maybe. I feel like you could do something better with Blue Beetle though.
I
I,
would use
I
Jaime though. Like that's where I would go with it.
and that's fair. I have no problem with that. I just I don't know, man. I feel like maybe
Or do you use Ted? Because Ted's the inventor.
well that's the thing is like I feel like no matter what you could involve Ted because you're meshing like things together anyway. So you can kind of combine those elements, amalgamate them as you so choose. But I
He's
don't
fair.
know that I think I would personally myself, I think I would actually combine Blue Beetle with Spider-Man
Instead of Superboy,
instead of Superboy. Yeah.
Bug Boy.
I think there'd be a really great way like you could literally have it be Uncle Ted
Oh,
and
instead of
instead of
Uncle Ben.
Uncle
Okay.
Ben.
All right.
Um you know what I mean? Like I feel and like that you can still have that whole like feel of legacy too, because maybe part of the reason why it happens is that he takes on the whole thing, becomes like the Beetle or however you want to call the character. Is something does happen to Ted and he was like his mentor and what have you, but after Ted dies, he finds out that he used to be like this guy, sort of street level hero, and sort of the same thing as like uh Dan. Was it Dan? What the hell is the name of the original Blue Beetle?
Dan. Yeah, Dan
Yeah,
Garrett.
Garrett, that's what it was, Dan Garrett. Yeah, sort of like with Dan Garrett and Ted Cord, like there's you could have play into that legacy bit a little bit, but also have like the cool scarab and have it be slightly different for Jaime, um, because his uncle could never quite figure out how to make it work. It could be very very cool. You could play up the whole Spider-Man Blue Beetle thing, mesh them together. Like I mean, this is just shooting from the hip, but I think that could be really cool, especially because Jaime is a teenager and we always love Peter Parker as a teenager when he starts
So
off his
you're thinking
career.
instead of going with the armor aspect, which is what my idea is, you would go with the teenager aspect and kind of like take it from there. So
No, I actually I mean I do like the armor thing, but I think if we play into like a little bit of the science nerd combined with the mystical elements of the scarab, you know, especially with like the science part being like, you know, his uncle Ted was also you know, a tech nerd. So like he comes by it honestly enough. You know, like I think there's like different things that can be done there. Like sort of end up having like the augmented strength and what have you that Dan Garrett had, but he's also utilizing his science know-how to make himself a better crime fighter, just like Peter Parker and even like Tony Stark does.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought to bring, those aspects in, but I like that, you have kind of like a plan for it's like, Peter the character, not necessarily Spider-Man the character. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important too if you're gonna try to like pull these disparate elements together. You have to find where of course, like the similarities are to begin with, but not just focus on like the superficial. You know, like you combine Spider-Man and Superboy in the original Amalgam Comics, but that's mostly because like everybody just think, you know, Superboy is a teenager and you know everybody likes Spider-Man as a teenager. So there you go. That was like really the main thing that made them combine those characters. I think that's kind of flimsy as a unifying principle between two characters. Whereas if you can find like the similarities that go a little bit deeper for character development and how they match up and how they behave when they're not just like when they're in action suit mode, but also when they're in their alter egos. You know, that's a big deal. I mean, they kind of had the idea here with Iron Lantern. It's just they picked, you know, the two pieces of fucking white bread at the end of the goddamn loaf.
Yeah, yeah, the two heels. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's really weird. I don't remember seeing much about a Hulk figure. Was there a Hulk amalgam character? Is that maybe in a different book?
Um shoot, you know what? I don't recall if there
I'm like, how
was
would they
one.
leave that out? Because I know there's an abomination one. You know,
Is there an abomination one?
I was thinking that's King Lizard or something because it's kind of like abomination mixed with Killer Croc mixed with Lizard because he kind
King
of looks like abomination a little bit. So that's
King
what my
Oh,
thought was.
King King
Skulk.
Lizard?
Skulk. Who's Skulk?
Skulk.
So
Oh,
yeah,
Solomon Grundy and Hulk. That's right.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Doctor Strange Fate.
Oh,
I
that's
just
that's why.
remembered.
Okay.
It's been
Yeah.
a long time since I've read. That's a good one. We haven't touched
Because
upon
I
that
was
one.
thinking, I'm like, who would I mix Booster Gold with? And I would mix him with Rick Jones. So I'd have him be like Booster Jones, like Michael Booster Jones, and kind of take it through there. Because that's kind of a character that it's like you could make that argument. I don't know how I would do it, but that's where I would go.
you think
I
Blue
I
Beetle
think
and uh, you think Blue Beetle and Ant Man is too on the nose?
No, I think that works too.
you
Like,
see, I mean that works because there's also legacy with both of those characters. I mean,
100%. Yeah, that
you can
actually
play
fits really
yeah,
well.
yeah, you can play around with a lot of that, you know. And you know, that's one of the things that I think, like I said, you got to pay attention to like the full stories of some of these characters to see where they match up like best. It's not just like these weird flimsy details that you should be
Yeah.
using as tab A and slot B. It should be something like broader, like what's really going to bring these characters together to make it make sense, make it a character like even for an issue like worth reading about. Like what besides just like the cool factor is the reason that you read this. Like show me why it's cool. Like
Oh,
tell
that's
me
like
why it's
the
cool.
90s trope, du jour would be cool factor.
Oh
'Cause I
yeah.
mean, this is actually like, "Oh, we're getting creamed by Image Comics right now. What are we gonna do?" So just throw something out there that's cool. You're like,
Yeah.
"Put some more guns on the cover."
Yeah, yeah. More pouches.
Oh yes, I do see Bruce Wayne, Agent of Shield,
I'm
fitting
not.
both
I'm
of
not.
those criteria.
I'm not seeing enough cybernetic limbs here, boys and girls. Can I get a few more of those, please and thank you?
There's literally a character with 6. And I'm yeah.
So like,
Oh yeah.
but there's, and that's part of the. I'm holding out hope that we have like the current generation of artists and writers are able to come together and do like a third wave of amalgam, like a brand new wave of amalgam after the omnibus is released, show the popularity of such things. Because I mean, I think fans would be really jazzed up about it, to be perfectly honest, and there might even be quite a few people that would check it out that otherwise wouldn't read comics,
So,
just
do you-
because the popularity of Marvel as a whole right now.
I'm wondering if
So,
this doesn't go anywhere because Mark Grunwald has passed.
Hmm.
do you think this could be a avenue for like indie publishers? Like an amalgam character could be like they could do like a Iron Lantern, but not call it like Iron Man and Green Lantern, but like very similar characteristics, you know?
I
I
think
mean,
they get
no,
sued. They get sued.
they would get sued
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I mean,
it's just too close.
this was such a hat, like a hat. Was it like a
Hat on a hat.
like a plate balancing act,
Oh,
actually? Because like there was a lot of legal shit involved between DC and Marvel when it came to how these characters were created and published. So yeah, that's not going to happen for anybody who just like wants to willy-nilly independently create something and publish it based on like a combination of elements from different disparate characters, one from each of these companies. That's that Yeah, that would have no good end for the individual that does that, I think.
So
that's part of it too, Leo. Like if an independent wants to do something that copies Iron Man, they don't have years and years of backstory for it to fall on. So it's just going to be like, oh, I did a 1 or 2 issue run or something like that. Because there's other characters that are close. Like Valiant Comics has Exo Manwar, but it's so vastly different than Iron Man that it's like, oh, okay, this is like a complete cool story that's something completely different, but the closest character you could say he is to Iron Man. But
That's
like
yeah.
like that's but otherwise it's just like there's not enough backstory to sustain like just a character. And with comics being what they are, unless it's a webtoon or something and you're not putting out like a physically published sort of book, I don't think there's really an appetite for it.
well, I mean, if you look at, like Good Boy,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's he didn't get sued, but I mean, it's taken the idea of like, what if uh uh John Wick's dog got revenge and his owner got killed.
And it is a world with anthropomorphic animals though, so it's like it is different.
Yeah.
It's like it's taking the idea, of an independent, well, I guess that's not really an independent movie, right, John Wick? But it's kind of taking the movie of like the idea of that movie and kind of like moving it on its end too and saying, "Hey, let's take a look at this from the dog perspective," but it only makes sense if the dog is actually a person. So it's yeah.
Yeah. So we couldn't take a character that like is the sole survivor of a doomed planet, comes to Earth and gets bit by a radioactive dung beetle.
Shit,
I
that sounds
mean,
cool. I was like,
you would just have to make it different enough from each one of the things that you were clearly, drawing inspiration from.
I mean,
You
that's
know,
kind of what Superior did, right? Like with the idea with Shazam. So it's like,
yeah, exactly. But it
yeah,
has to be clear enough that it's different from the thing that you are obviously taking inspiration from. You know what I mean?
just copy Star
Read,
Wars. Like that's all you got to do.
yeah, copy Star Wars, because Star Wars hasn't
Huge in
copied
the '80s.
several other things to be the thing it was, right?
Oh, it,
Mm.
it totally did, but it's one of those things. I was listening to the Talk Without Rhythm podcast for El Goro, and he was talking about this because there's this movie that he reviewed that blatantly ripped off Star Wars, and he says he's like the thing about Star Wars is it did that. It took from everywhere, but it ended up being greater than the sum of all the parts that it
Parts,
took.
yeah.
And I'm like, you're right, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like that's the thing is like Star Wars is a kitchen sink movie, and it's a kitchen sink movie that worked. Um, there are plenty of kitchen sink movies out there that you know are terrible. There's so many pieces pulled and thrown in because it's something that the filmmaker passed by one day through at some point in their life and like, oh, that's pretty cool, and then just put it in a movie. One example that springs immediately to mind is The Spirit by
Oh
Frank
yeah.
Miller.
Holy shit, you just referenced the Spirit.
Oh yeah, that's one of the few times that most people would reference The Spirit is in the context of which I'm doing it. There's a literal kitchen sink that Samuel Jackson uses at one point to fucking break over the protagonist's head.
He
Um,
is the best thing about that movie.
yes.
Beyond like his performance in that movie, amazing, great performance, did an awesome job. It is not his fault.
And then another one is Sucker Punch by Zack Snyder.
That's a movie.
That is that is probably like the prime example of a kitchen sink movie. That is literally Zack Snyder just dumping out every cool thing he had seen since he was 13 into a fucking movie and then trying to convince us all it was a good movie. Like,
I haven't watched it yet, but isn't that also Rebel Moon?
I don't plan on watching it,
I'm
and from
not
what I understand, yes.
Oh
But
God, I'm not watching that.
once again, talking about ripping off a Star Wars thing. But yeah, I mean, so like recently, I guess like Zack Snyder's are like, oh, I actually have like the rest of the stuff that needs to go into Sucker Punch, which would make it like a complete movie. He just needs to get the funds, like, so maybe he'll start like a campaign or something. And somebody responded to that news being tweeted out, like they were like, bro, just make a good movie the first time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I saw
yeah,
that.
so fucking
Possibly
tired of
because you
that shit.
posted it.
Probably, yeah. I definitely think I shared that somewhere. But
But he needs to make it sure it's in black and white and have to have a chorus of people like singing.
dude, maybe your movies wouldn't always clock in at fucking 3 hours if you didn't use slow-mo for fucking
Yeah.
25% of your fucking movie. Like that was back when we were first talking about Justice League and the Snyder's cut, and I was like, dude, when you use slow-mo that much, like any meaning it had for the scene and characters becomes less and less as it goes on because it just becomes a gimmick, and I got finger wagged at me because like, oh, I mean, it makes sense that Lois was moving in slow-mo because that's what grief feels like. I'm like, you know what, that's right. And I do understand grief. I've personally been through it. I get it. But like thinking more on it after the fact, I was like, but no. But there was no reason why all the other scenes that we saw in slow-mo needed to happen.
I like the one scene where Superman catches up with the Flash and he turns his head at super speed and all that, and then Flash is like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
I
that was
like that
definitely
scene.
cool. But we I mean I've pulled this into a little bit of a tangent talking about terrible characterizations when we have this terrible
We're gonna
characterization that we're
amalgamate
finishing
Zack
up on.
Snyder with a good director, so that the good
What if we
director has
amalgamated
bad
Zack
movies.
Snyder's work with Joss Whedon's work and then put out that version of Justice League? I
Well, hold
mean,
on there.
everyone will be happy, right?
There's a couple issues here. Nobody's happy.
Oh,
I don't know.
Brandon.
I still like those movies. Like I like them because it's like, oh, it's fun to see Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman on the screen and all that. Do I think they're high cinema? Absolutely fucking not. You know? And I'll admit to you, I probably like that Flash movie a lot more than I should. And I like that movie more than I like the Justice League movies.
I
Both
mean,
versions.
I
You know?
definitely like the Flash movie way more than I probably should.
I agree. And
I
like
think
I said, I don't like the way that the time bowl looks, or what did you call it? The Timeaceum or
I called it the Rampatheater,
the amphitheater. Yeah,
but
okay. I was close.
they called it something else. I can't
Yeah.
even remember what,
But
but I
that's my
was
only complaint. Like otherwise I'm like, this is a fun movie. Like I'll give it a B. It's like cool. It's above average. I enjoy it. You know?
I've literally been referring it to the Ramphitheater in my own head for so long that I always forget what they actually called it, like in reference like to the movie. Chrono Bubble or something. I don't know, but Ramphitheater just I literally thought that in the movie theater watching. I was pleased as punch with myself. Like I, if I could have high-fived myself in the movie theater at that moment in time, I would have if it wouldn't
We have
have
this
made me
little
look.
window into Brandon's head, and he's just high-fiving exact
Yep,
copy of himself, but one Brandon is
absolutely.
red and one Brandon is blue.
There's a little wind up Brandon in my brain that instead of symbols, it's just my own hands clapping for
Oh, there you
myself.
go. Okay. I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
The monkey shine.
yeah, a little monkey shot, but it's Brandon wearing the loud Roosevelt shirt with the Kangol hat.
Wow, this has been a revelation.
Sort of like Homer Simpson.
Now we need to make AI draw that picture.
Oh,
Oh,
please,
you
please
done ruined it,
don't.
Leo.
Sorry.
No, we don't. I don't condone the use of AI.
Why is there 6 fingers on one hand and 7 fingers on the other?
Oh, because I'm a pianist from the movie Gattaca by Andrew Niccol.
Oof. Wow. You're awfully quick on that. I don't
Yeah,
like that
well,
either.
I have my moment.
So I'm putting Leo with 1 point on the board for his Hank Pym comment, and I'm taking a point away from Brandon. But as always, the points just don't matter. So
And negative 1,000 points for Brandon.
and
But
the
I
winner
got
today, who gets to read the credits. That's
In the style of Charlie Chaplin. What? What?
and okay, all right. Brandon has gained 1,000 points back. You dick.
See, kids, that's funny because Charlie Chaplin was a silent movie actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he did do a great satire called The Great Dictator, which just mercilessly mocks Adolf Hitler and Mussolini. So much to the point, actually, that Hitler did actually call for the assassination of Charlie Chaplin for some time. Pretty fun stuff. But anyway, um, Iron Lantern, Amalgam Comics Wave 2, 1997. It's a comic book. Um, if you really dig Hal Jordan and Tony Stark as both their respective characters, Green Lantern and Iron Man, and you are at least familiar with, if not outright love, the stylings of like Silver Age comic books, like the stories themselves. If you're into that, then you are in for a real treat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this does fall very much on the. It's not even so much like middle of the road. It falls on the side of forgettable.
Yeah. It's a C minus, I think. It's
There's
just
nothing that jumps out, nothing that really makes it stand out from the crowd very much.
very few concepts that are just like, oh my God, yes. It just, it's not even like that. It's like, all right, okay. Oh, well, I like that. But oh, yeah. And I mean, you shouldn't be doing that on something you're reading to enjoy.
Yeah. It just feels like essentially you're kind of reading something where they had boxes that they were needed to check as they were going through and writing it and drawing it. Like, okay, we combined this and we mentioned that and we made it look like this and so on and so forth. And I it for I guess for want of a better term, it seems it lacks heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
That's
it doesn't really feel like it has any real like
Well, it
you like
like
any
soul.
of the characters?
No,
Yeah.
no, what's
Soulless.
that? Yeah, it's kind of soulless. Like I just don't understand like why. Just
What'd you
why
say, Leo?
this?
I said it lacks heart because it got stabbed in the middle with a spaceship metal.
Okay. Yeah. No.
There we
You're
go.
right.
Brought it back to Iron Lantern's fantastic origin.
But I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, and they're like, "Oh, that was a thing, but we fixed it." There's so much like in media res here, where it's like, it may as well just be an editorial exposition dump too, and
Yeah.
and none of the characters are likable. And I mean, I want to like some of the characters, but I don't get enough of any of them to like them, and I dislike more than I even like.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about what a card, Hal Jordan can be and all that, but it's like him and Tony Stark, and then you mix the two most insufferable people in either universe together. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
I
they're
feel
mixing.
like what's
I
that?
was just gonna say, and they're mixing like heroes and villains. Like even in the beginning, like Oa and
Ego.
Ego. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a
That's
good
true.
point, Leo. Yeah, they
That's
are.
true. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, it's not one of the strongest offerings from Amalgam's Amalgam Comics in Toto. And unfortunately, there's more like this in Wave 2 than not. But hey, whatever. We covered it. We did it. I'm glad just because now I don't have to worry about reading this fucking comic book again for a good long time. Not unless somebody asks me to reference it at some point. I'll
I'm
bone
gonna
up
go back
again.
and I'm gonna go back and read Speed Demon just to like cleanse the palate.
I know, man. Like, talk about something that looks cool on paper and actually like works. Like, I legitimately wanted to read more of that story, and I don't even like Ghost Rider as a character, generally speaking. When you can do that and make me want to read what's happening next, and it just never comes, like, well done, and also fuck you.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the goal. And this didn't leave me wanting for more. Sounds like you guys kind of on the same page.
Oh yeah, like probably not as like bad as you, but this was my first read on it, and I've already forgotten most of the story. It's just not. I don't really care, like whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I give
Love
it
Paul
like
Smith. That's my answer.
yeah, I give it like 5 out of 10. Honestly,
Yeah. If
that's the highest I could give it.
what's
You know,
what's the next one we're gonna read there, Brandon?
I think we're gonna do Spider Boy next.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of silly, and it's been a long time since I've read that. So let's see if my opinion changes. As a 42-year-old man. So yeah, that'll be fun. But as it is, I guess we're done here. I'm fine with that.
Well, that
um,
happened. Yes.
yeah. So that was Iron Lantern. Thanks for trudging through it with us. You can definitely get your hands on all these Amalgam comics coming out this summer. You can pre-order it now, or probably just buy it by August when it comes out as an omnibus. Well worth it just to have these. It contains all the Amalgam stuff in the Marvel versus DC comics. But aside from that, we'll say our farewells here. I'm Powerful Brandon. If you want to check out the podcast, go to comicsparadox.com. That's comixparadox.com. If you want to follow on Instagram, the name is at Comics Paradox Podcast. If you feel like listening to us on any other platforms, we can be found wherever fine podcasts are broadcast, especially over at the new Good Pods app. We've been doing a lot of stuff over there, so you can always reach out and communicate with us through that, or over at comicsparadox.com. Also, be sure to check out thedorkening.com, where we have a 40 plus shows covering a plethora of topics. If you're a geek and into something, there is definitely an excellent chance that we have a show or two that covers exactly the thing that you're into. Aside from that, Mr. Leo Pond, say what you got going on, bud.
Yeah, just Google me, you'll find some stuff. I don't know, but yeah, you said it there. Head on over to thedorkening.com. You can learn more. And we all do another show that I'm sure Justin will mention, the Dork Night, where it's two people that absolutely adore Batman and one person that is there for laughs.
Yeah, yeah. It's hosted by Leo and Justin, who absolutely love Batman and all the lore involving the character, and also Brandon's there.
True.
And Mr. Justin, what do you have going on?
All I have to say is in brightest day and darkest night, no mediocre books are right. When we do this amalgam and it comes to light, let those who worship DC and Marvel listen on Good Pods.
Jesus Christ, that was a walk.
Yeah, that was a walk. Yeah.
That was a walk, buddy.
It worked though.
Whoa. Yeah,
Ish. You know, it's you know, I don't know. Well, what
I
can I
liked
say?
it's workshop it. We'll workshop it.
We'll put it.
We'll
Check us out.
We'll fine tune it and then put it on a shirt.
Yeah, exactly. But check us out. Check us out on Good Pods. Give us that 5-star review. You know, and if you don't
please.
want to give us a 5-star review, just don't review it.
Yeah, there's that too.
There's always the option. You could just scroll on.
Remember what your mom said. If you have nothing nice to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know. But if you stayed with us this long, congratulations.
You would like to thank our listener.
Yeah.
They have won transparent aluminum.
Fred, thanks, man. You've been with me for a while. We
Thanks
really
for all the
appreciate
Star
it.
Wars or Star Trek 4 references in this episode. So see if you can find how many. Yeah.
And what podcast do you host, my friend?
I host a Ninja Turtles podcast called Epic Tales from the Sewers. It's sort of an audiobook read through the IDW Ninja Turtles, including The Last Ronin. Most recently, The Lost Years. I just put out issue number 4. And also, I do a show about music called the Generation Playlist Podcast, where we go through an artist or a genre and pick out a bespoke sort of playlist for you so you can get a good idea about that particular artist.
Nice. All right. Well, once again, thanks everybody for listening to this week's episode of Comics Paradox, and we will catch you on the flip flop. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.